before I begin with the meat and potatoes, as Clayton would say, I just want to share with y'all a quick quote. And I stumbled across this line that to me came, the more I thought about it, it was kind of the epitome of Freemasonry. I'm currently reading, well, I actually finished it last night, Robert Penn Warren's All the King's Men. Warren is from Kentucky, and the novel won the Pulitzer Prize. It tells the story of a charismatic populist governor, Willie Stark, and his political machinations in the Depression-era Deep South. It was inspired by the real-life story of U.S. Senator Huey P. Long, who was assassinated in 1935. Its title is drawn from the nursery rhyme Humpty Dumpty. There's a line in the book that I find particularly poignant when viewed through the guise of our Masonic teaching. The narrator, Jack Burton, makes many philosophical conjectures as he considers various scenes from his life. When evaluating his belief in God, he says, God and nothing have a lot in common. You look either one of them straight in the eye for a second, and the immediate effect on the human constitution is the same. Some Masonic lecturers refer to the North as a place of nothingness, which is an extrapolation beyond the concept of darkness. I think Warren might have been right. The immediate effect on the human constitution when encountering deity and nothing is similar, because it's only after seeking that one finds, and only after contemplation that one understands. Programs like the Esoteric Corner are an opportunity for us to move beyond the immediate effect of staring the darkness in the eye and building an ever-evolving understanding of what the nothingness actually is, and communing more deeply with our deity. We always need speakers in lodge, programs for stated communications, and the Esoteric Corner are an opportunity for each member to seek and contemplate. Consider how your own perspective on a topic might bring light to your brothers. And so that's my preface. I'll stop sharing for a few minutes, and then I'll bring up the prayers in just a second. But I'll jump into the presentation now. Prayer is an important component of the ritual of our craft. Beginning with an examination of the earliest manuscripts of old charges, the Regis Poem manuscript of 1390, all lodge activities have begun with prayers to deity. But what is prayer? It has been described as a petition to deity for his blessing or thanksgiving. It is a communication between man and his creator, and means for the man to coordinate his mind with that of his creator. Regardless of your religion or understanding of faith in general, prayer is universal because it speaks to some basic human need. Thomas Merton wrote, "Prayer is an expression of who we are. We are living incompleteness. We are a gap and emptiness that calls for fulfillment." Merton's sentiment aligns with our assertion that the craft makes good men better, as it demonstrates that there is always need for improvement. Prayer is a constant reminder that our petty circumstances likely look different from the perspective of deity, and that our petitions to deity should take that into consideration. Oh my God, there's a cat attacking my notes. Sorry, y'all. Prayer can be considered a means for creating reason and logical thinking within the petitioner. Therefore, prayer challenges us to consider our circumstance from a greater perspective and guides our spiritual growth and improvement. Every prayer in the ritual has a purpose and appeals to deity for direction and guidance. The place of prayer in Masonry is not perfunctory. It is vital and profound. Let's take a closer look at the prayer at raising a brother to the sublime degree of Master Mason. First, some context. The story of Hiram Abiff is largely fictitious. There are some parallels in the Old Testament of the Holy Bible, but nothing that presents the story of Abiff as we do in Lodge. So why in their wisdom did our Masonic forefathers choose to kill Hiram Abiff? Why was it necessary to impress upon the candidate that symbolic death was necessary to truly live? I'm sorry, this cat is all over the place and I don't know what to do about it. Why was it necessary to impress upon the candidate that symbolic death was necessary to truly live into the tenets of the craft? The answer may be in the symbolism of the three ruffians. There are many symbolic allusions that could be applied to the three ruffians. Anyone who attempts to obtain secrets to which they are not entitled is guilty of a crime. Rewards must be earned. Violence is never an acceptable form of conduct, except in self-defense. One explanation of the ruffians suggests a pursuit for true freedom. Those who seek to enslave mankind first deny the right of free speech, which is symbolized by a blow to the throat. The second way to try to control people is to attack their right to place their affection where they wish, and this can be symbolized by a blow to the heart. Finally, and most importantly, tyrants attack our ability to think for ourselves, and this can be symbolized by a blow to the brain. I'll admit that it's not mine originally. I stole it from the Grand Lodge in their 1989 education document on the Master Mason's theory. However, the greater illusion might be how the ruffians also symbolize the passions in each of us. The passions that we must keep in check. Passions that, if not kept in check, not properly subdued, may lead to our demise. Hiram Abiff must die to illustrate the perils of letting one's passions overcome them. While the candidate plays the role of Hiram Abiff in the degree, he discovers upon reflection that he is actually a fellowcraft, and that he caused the death of Abiff for not fully having control over his passions. So, having provided very brief context, most of which can be debated, we now consider the prayer raising itself. Noah Schultz wrote, "The graveside prayer used in the Master Mason degree would have been near universally known in the English-speaking world at the time it was incorporated into the degree, as it bears a remarkable resemblance to a section of the Book of Common Prayer, a prayer book that was used universally by the Church of England and is still in use by the Anglican Church today. In the 1662 edition of the Book of Common Prayer, the version that was in use at the time of codification and unification of English Grand Lodges, the instructions immediately preceding burial state, when they come to the grave, while the corpse is made ready to be laid into the earth, the priest shall say, or the priest and clerk shall sing, Man that is born of a woman hath but short time to live, and is full of misery. He cometh up and is cut down like a flower. He fleeth as it were a shadow, and never continueth in one stay. In the midst of life we are in death. Of whom may we seek for succor but of thee, O Lord, who for our sins art justly displeased? Thou knowest, Lord, the secrets of our hearts. Shut not thy merciful ears to our prayer, but spare us." The BCP artfully arranged its prayers and readings to include an array of factions that existed in the church at the time that it was first published. The first book of prayer and the first speculative lodges trace their roots to the period between 600 and 900 BC. I put BCE, but it should be ACE. The version most often used in Freemasonry is shown on the left side of your screen. Now, just a second, let me show it to you on the left side of your screen. All right, so
Worshipful Nick is asking a question.
Yes, ask away.
Sir, sorry to interrupt. Just that prayer you just read, that's from the Book of Common Prayer?
It's from the 1662 version of the Book of Common Prayer. I didn't pull out my current Book of Common Prayer to see if the United States had adopted it in the Episcopal Church of America, and I don't have an English one to see if it's in that one, but that was from the Book of Common Prayer in 1662.
Thank you. I just like the resemblance is so brutal and striking that I wanted to make sure it predates the constitutions of Freemasonry by so many years.
It predates the accepted constitutions of Masonry. I think there might be a version of the constitutions that's before 1662, but it wouldn't be the universally accepted ones.
Okay, thank you.
So the version most often used in Freemasonry of the prayer raising is shown on the left side of your screen. It's out of Duncan's Monitor. The form and imagery would have been immediately recognized to most English speakers when first codified. Overt Christian wording is removed to reflect the universality of Freemasonry, but the main point is made. All die, but there may be hope of life eternal. A direct biblical parallel exists, however, in the first line. It is a direct paraphrase of Psalm 139. O Lord, thou hast searched me out and known me. Thou knowest my downsitting and mine uprising. Thou understandest my thoughts long before. So let's review the prayer in total from Duncan's Monitor. Thou, O God, knowest our downsitting and our uprising, and understandest our thoughts afar off. Shield and defend us from the evil intentions of our enemies, and support us under the trials and afflictions we are destined to endure while traveling through this vale of tears. Man that is born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble. He cometh forth as a flower and is cut down. He fleeth also as a shadow and continueth not. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Turn from him that he may rest till he shall accomplish his day. For there is hope of a tree, if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and that the tender branch thereof will not cease. But man dieth and wasteth away, yea, man giveth up the ghost, and where is he? As the waters fail from the sea, and the flood decayeth and drieth up, so man lieth down and riseth not up until the heavens shall be no more. Yet, O Lord, have compassion on the children of thy creation, administer them comfort in the time of trouble, and save them with the everlasting salvation. Amen. This prayer is a direct petition to the Supreme Architect, a recognition of his all-knowing and all-seeing powers, and his ability to protect and sustain. In it, we first admit our own shortcomings as humans. We make mistakes, we stumble, we fall. We also admit to and recognize our mortality, realizing that only the Supreme Architect can know how long we will labor on earth. Then the prayer makes a request. Turn from him that he may rest. We're asking the Supreme Architect to revise his plan. We're asking that his work in the afterlife be suspended and he be able to return to his earthly toils. And since we are in essence questioning divine wisdom, we then start justifying these requests. A tree might sprout again and live forever, but a man cannot. It is only with divine intervention that a man be able to learn from the circumstance that landed him in the grave of death and be allowed to try again at mortality. The prayer concludes with a final petition to the Supreme Architect. Show compassion, administer comfort, and provide salvation. I've always thought this was a beautiful prayer, but it is also a rather brazen request. Do not let Hiram Abiff die. It wasn't his fault. The Fellowcrafts killed him. The passions of men who did not subdue their passions were what killed Hiram Abiff, not his own actions. Of course, we know that through our ritual that Hiram Abiff, while raised, did not come back to life, but the spirit of Hiram Abiff did. The spirit of Hiram Abiff lives in every Freemason who realizes that he must subdue the passions that lesser men allow to control them. The spirit of Hiram Abiff lives in every Freemason who realizes that there is also more knowledge to acquire and more perspectives to understand. The spirit of Hiram Abiff lives in every Freemason who realizes the ultimate power of the Supreme Architect and his generosity in being able to live another day. The only way to repay this generosity is to truly live into our tenets and our cardinal virtues: temperance, fortitude, prudence, and justice. It is incumbent upon every Mason who recites this prayer or has it recited over him to realize that we are asking the Supreme Architect of the universe to give us another chance at living into the men that he expects us to be. It is a hard prayer to memorize. It is a hard prayer to fully understand, and there's some wisdom in that too. In the Grand Lodge of Virginia, there are 2 additional items added that are not in Duncan's monitor. The first is in the initial request. The generally used version is turn from him that he may rest till he shall accomplish his day. In Virginia, it is turn from him that he may rest till he shall accomplish as a hireling his day. That's highlighted on the right side of your screen. A hireling is someone who is working a job to get paid. Hireling is often used in a derogatory manner. The hireling is considered to have no loyalty to his employer. He is simply there to get a paycheck and go home. Why would Virginia add this phrase? To me, the answer is simple. The work that we do to sustain ourselves is just that, work for sustenance. It is only after we have fully sustained ourselves that we can then work toward a new level of consciousness. Once we have that need, once we have all the things that we need, we can then seek to create charity for others. We can seek greater knowledge. We can do these things afforded to those who have their basic needs met. The second Virginia edition is at the end of the prayer. The Duncan version says, administer them comfort in time of trouble. The Virginia version adds an article to make the phrase more specific. It says, administer them comfort in the time of trouble. This is not a usual phrase pattern, and when reciting the prayer, some worshipful masters forget the article. However, it is added to underscore and emphasize the need of the Supreme Architect during the time of death. The time of trouble refers to the time of dying. We seek comfort from the Supreme Architect, most especially at the time of death, because he is the only one who can provide it. He is the only one who can exist on both sides of the veil. The addition of "the" reasserts the omnipotence of the Supreme Architect and re-emphasizes to those present the essential need of having the supreme architect in their lives. As every one of my ritual students can attest, I get very frustrated when they do not put in the time and care necessary into the prayer of raising. Even in symbolic ritual, the outrageous request to deity to alter the plans he has determined for a man is audacious. We cannot lightly make such requests. These requests must be made with utter humility and solemnity. We must teach the candidate lying there what petition we have made on his behalf. We must take the gift of raising for what it is: a rebirth, a new chance, a renewal. On the day we are raised, we are thenceforth expected to live into the tenets that persuaded the Supreme Architect to give us a second chance. For every Master Mason kneeling at the graveside, the prayer is a reminder of what has been done for him and should challenge him to rededicate himself to be a better man and a better Mason. The speculative death and raising of Hiram Abiff are a wake-up call for us all to strive to improve our hearts and minds, our lodges, our communities, and the world around us. The operative death we are all destined to experience has no second chance. Let the prayer at raising remind us of what the Worshipful Master says in the ceremony for the Lodge of Sorrow. Brethren, may we ever be aware of our approaching fate, as this alone can bring seemingly major crises into proper perspective, thereby creating that attitude of peace and harmony for which we strive.